Hi, I'm Stan. I'm 46, and I don't just want to finish a marathon. I want to train hard enough to compete, to cross that line knowing I gave the distance a real fight. I ran short and middle distances in high school, then spent more than 20 years mostly visiting the treadmill. So before I pick a heroic finish time, I need one honest answer. What kind of runner am I today, and what could I become if I train like it matters? A marathon has lived in the back of my mind for a long time. Not as punishment, not because I think 46 is some kind of emergency. Honestly, it is almost the opposite. I finally want a goal big enough to organize myself around. Something that asks for patience on Monday, consistency on Wednesday, and a little courage when the alarm goes off on Saturday morning. To me, 26.2 miles belongs to a special category of accomplishment. You cannot bluff your way through it. You cannot buy the last 6 miles. The finish line has to be earned one ordinary training day at a time. And yes, I care about the finish. Of course I do. But I also know myself. If I'm going to spend months preparing, I want to see what I can actually do. I'm not expecting to become a professional athlete. I'm definitely not planning a dramatic sprint past the Olympic champion. I just don't want my entire strategy to be, well, I hope I survive. I want to compete at the scale that's real for me. The encouraging part is that I am not starting with zero history. In high school, I ran short and middle distances. I remember the rhythm of a track. I remember what it feels like to settle into an effort instead of panicking the first time breathing gets hard. Over the next 20 plus years, running never completely disappeared. It just became occasional. A treadmill here, a stretch of consistency there. Enough to keep the idea familiar, but not enough to pretend I have a marathon engine waiting under a dust cover. That distinction matters. My old experience is useful. It is not current evidence. At 46, I actually like that answer. I do not need to prove everything in the first workout. I have enough perspective to know that patience is not the opposite of ambition. Patience is how a goal this big survives contact with real life. So my first small win was simple. I stopped saying, I would like to run a marathon someday. I changed it to, I am going to find out what it takes for me to compete in one. Then I looked at the actual distance. A marathon is 42.195 kilometers, 26.2 miles. My high school events and a treadmill session live in one neighborhood. A marathon lives several towns over. The official plans made that clear very quickly. London Marathon publishes a 16-week beginner plan that assumes the runner is generally healthy and can run 3 times a week. The Boston Athletic Association has a 20-week novice plan, and that one begins at around 25 miles a week. 25 miles a week is not where I can honestly say I am today, because I have not measured today yet. That was the first real obstacle. I wanted to choose a marathon plan, circle a race date, and start acting like the montage had already begun. But the plans were telling me something more useful. Race training has an entrance ramp. Therefore, I do not need one plan yet. I need 2 phases. First, build and document a dependable running base. Then choose the race-specific marathon plan that matches the runner I have actually become. That may sound less dramatic than printing a 26.2 sticker on day 1. It is also far more likely to get me to the start line prepared. I also had to clean up one word: compete. Compete with whom? The winner? My high school self? A random person on the internet who's been running 60 miles a week since flip phones were exciting? None of those answers helps me train tomorrow. So I gave competition 3 levels. Level 1 is the process. Can I complete the work I planned, recover responsibly, and come back consistently? Before I compete with another runner, I have to compete with interruption, impatience, and the temptation to turn one good day into 3 bad decisions. Level 2 is personal performance. Once I have real baseline data, I can set a demanding but supportable time goal. Not a number chosen because it looks impressive on a thumbnail. A number earned from what my training and benchmark races show me. Level 3 is the actual age group. World Masters Athletics places athletes from 45 through 49 in the M45 category. That means 46 is not an awkward footnote next to the results. It is a real competitive division. I like that. I'm not trying to run as a 22-year-old version of myself. I get to find out what I can do in the category I actually belong to. Small win number 2. Compete was no longer bravado. It had a definition. Now, I needed a first experiment. Not a fake marathon prediction. Not a heroic long run. Something small enough to do responsibly and useful enough to change the next decision. The first gate is readiness. The current PAR Q+ is designed to help people determine whether they should get guidance from an exercise professional or healthcare provider before becoming more active. I will complete that privately. If it tells me to follow up, I follow up. My answers are not content, and this video is not medical clearance. That is important, because I do not know every relevant health or injury detail from a story idea, and generative AI certainly does not get to invent them. After that gate, the first physical benchmark has 4 jobs. Record how often I am currently running. Record the distance or time I can complete at a controlled effort. Record how that effort feels. Then pay attention to recovery instead of declaring victory the second I stop the watch. Federal physical activity guidance makes a simple point for people who have been inactive. Start with small amounts and build over time. That's general guidance, not my personal training prescription. Still, it fits the story I'm trying to live. Start with what is true. Add from there. My first board will not show a generated pace or an imaginary mileage total. It will show blank spaces labeled to be measured. Oddly enough, that blank board feels motivating. It means the next number can be mine. Once I stopped demanding the final answer on day 1, the route became much clearer. Step 1 is readiness. I make sure the first increase in training is appropriate for me. Step 2 is consistency. I build a repeatable week before I celebrate one unusually ambitious workout. Step 3 is durability. The distance grows only when the existing work is something I can absorb and repeat. Step 4 is benchmark performance. A documented shorter race or time trial gives me evidence about pace, pacing, and how I respond when the effort becomes real. Step 5 is marathon execution. That is where the final time goal, fueling practice, race choice, pacing plan, and months of preparation finally meet. I don't know the number at the top yet. That is not a weakness in the story. That is the reason to keep watching it. What I do know is that my old running experience still has a job. It can help me respect pacing. My age has a job too. It can remind me that the best plan is not the most aggressive plan I can survive for 3 days. It is the one I can execute long enough to change. I wanted one huge accomplishment. What I found was a ladder of smaller accomplishments, each one giving me permission to reach for the next. So, can I train to compete in a marathon at 46? Yes, I can begin. Am I ready to announce a marathon time, choose an aggressive plan, or claim a result? Not yet. And honestly, I trust the goal more, because I can say both of those things at once. I am ready to begin. My competitive category is M45. My first result is a real baseline, not a generated one. My next decision comes after the evidence. That is my after 40 answer today. Mature ambition is not smaller ambition. It is ambition put in the right order. The marathon is still enormous. Good. I wanted something enormous. But now it is not one impossible leap from a treadmill to a finish line. It is a series of honest tests, useful adjustments, and earned steps forward. Next, I establish the baseline. Then I build the first consistent training block. After that comes a benchmark race, a marathon choice, and the time goal those results can actually support. I am not trying to become younger. I am trying to become the strongest, smartest version of the runner I can be now. And for the first time, I want to run a marathon no longer sounds like a wish. It sounds like a project. If you have a goal that feels too big to answer today, maybe you don't need the final answer. Maybe you need one honest measurement and the next useful step. Mine starts here.